Have you ever just sat there, scrolling through your phone, maybe sipping some coffee, and thought, man, the world is wild, like how did we even get here? Well, a huge piece of that puzzle is World War II. It's in our history books, our movies, our grandparents' stories. But what if it just never happened? Let's go down that rabbit hole. What would our world look like today if the deadliest conflict in human history was just erased from the timeline? Let's get into it. First off, let's talk borders. The map of the world as we know it was basically redrawn after 1945. Germany would likely still be a massive empire in the middle of Europe, probably still led by some form of the Weimar Republic or maybe even the monarchy. No Berlin Wall, no East and West Germany, just one big, powerful nation. And what about Eastern Europe? Countries like Poland, Czechoslovakia, and the Baltic states might have had a totally different fate, possibly staying independent or falling under different spheres of influence. But without the Soviet Iron Curtain crashing down on them, imagine a Europe where the Cold War as we knew it never kicked off. That's a whole different ballgame. Then there's the tech side of things. I'm talking about the device you're watching this on right now. So much of our modern technology was fast-tracked by the war. Jet engines pushed into existence for fighter planes. The first programmable digital computers, like Colossus, built to crack enemy codes. Radar, penicillins, mass production, even nuclear energy, all of these got a massive, and I mean massive, boost because of the war effort. Without that intense pressure, would we have smartphones today? Would air travel be as common and cheap? Our tech timeline might be decades behind. It's kinda wild to think that the race to build weapons of destruction also gave us tools that connect and heal us. What do you think would be the biggest piece of tech we'd be missing out on? Drop a comment, I'm genuinely curious. Let's switch gears to society and culture. The post-war era created a whole new world order. The United States and the Soviet Union became the two global superpowers, leading to the Cold War. Without World War II, the British Empire might have declined way more slowly. America might not have stepped onto the world stage with such force. It might have stayed more isolationist. Think about the cultural impact. The baby boom, that massive population explosion after the war, wouldn't have happened in the same way. The suburbs that popped up everywhere to house these new families might look totally different. Rock and roll, counterculture movements of the 60s. So much of it was a reaction to the conservative post-war world. Without the war, would we still have had the Beatles or Woodstock? The whole vibe of the 20th century would be off, and we can't ignore the darker side of this what if. The Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews and millions of others, was an atrocity that forever scarred humanity. If World War II never happened, this specific horror wouldn't have occurred. But the anti-Semitism and extreme nationalism that fueled it were already there. So, would it have just taken a different, terrible form? This is a heavy one, and it's tough to even think about. The creation of the State of Israel in 1948 was a direct consequence of the war and the Holocaust. Without it, the entire political landscape of the Middle East would be unrecognizable. The conflicts, the alliances, everything would be different. The establishment of the United Nations is another huge one. It was created directly from the ashes of the war to prevent something like that from ever happening again. For all its flaws, the UN has provided a forum for diplomacy that has probably stopped countless conflicts. Without it, would we have a different global body, or just a world where powerful countries do whatever they want with no one to answer to? It's a scary thought. International law, human rights declarations, all of these were born from the promise of never again. Let's also consider the global economy. The Marshall Plan, America's massive investment to rebuild Western Europe, basically set the stage for the modern globalized economy. It tied Europe and America together in a way they had never been before. Without the war, would global trade be as interconnected? Would powerhouse economies like Japan and Germany have recovered and grown in the same way? Japan's post-war economic miracle was built from the ground up after total devastation. Without that devastation and the subsequent American occupation and aid, its path would have been totally different. Maybe other countries would have risen to take their place. So, let's try to paint a picture of this alternate 2024. Geopolitically, we might see a world with more major powers, a huge German empire, a slowly fading British empire, a more isolationist USA, and maybe a Japan that expanded its empire differently in Asia. Technology would feel ... retro. Maybe we'd just be getting to the level of the early internet now. Culturally, things would be less globalized. Your favorite music, movies, and fashion might be totally different, maybe more regional and less American influenced. It's a world with no Cold War, no nuclear arms race as we knew it, but also maybe no United Nations. It's a world where the horrors of the Holocaust didn't happen, but the ideologies that caused it might still be lurking. It's impossible to say if this alternate world would be better or worse. It would just be different, incredibly different. It really shows you how one single, massive event can send ripples through time, shaping everything we see, touch, and do today. from the GPS in your car to the rights you have as a person. It's all connected. This is just scratching the surface. For real, there are so many other things we could talk about, like the role of women in the workforce, decolonization in Africa and Asia, you name it. It's a trip. What do you guys think? What's the biggest change you think we'd see if World War II never happened? Let me know your theories down in the comments. I read them all. Thanks for hanging out and exploring this alternate timeline with me. It's been a blast. If you dug this, you should definitely check out my previous video. It's on the end screen right now. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next trip down the what if rabbit hole. Catch you in the next one. Peace.